Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're kicking off the story of one of the heaviest and most iconic game series out there, Metal Gear Solid. Created and directed by none other than Hideo Kojima, the legend himself, who everyone in the gaming world knows. Since the timeline in this series is pretty twisted and all over the place, I decided to tell the story in chronological order instead of release order. That means we'll be starting with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And because the remake of the game just came out, I'll be using its gameplay to go through the story. If I went with release order, things would get super confusing, so yeah, chronological order is the way to go. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, it really helps me out. August 24th, 1964, 5:30 a.m. Pakistan airspace. The game kicks off with a Fox unit's plane, a CIA Black Ops group, flying into Soviet territory for a mission. Major Zero and his crew are running their final checks. Weather conditions, parachutes, gear, all that stuff. At the very back of the plane, we come face to face with the legend himself, Snake, one of the most iconic figures in gaming history. Now, the whole name situation with this guy gets pretty crazy later on, but for now, all you need to know is that his real name is John, though people also call him Jack. After some complaining from the team, John finally ditches his Cuban cigar. He flicks it away, straps on his chute and oxygen mask, and in pure Hollywood fashion, puts the cigar out midair. Just before the jump, Major Zero, the team leader, tells him this is the first ever Halo jump in history. Snake just stays cool and silent, then leaps after the countdown.
4, 3, 2, 1. Spread your wings and fly. God be with you.
Before he hits the ground, the game throws us into a long flashback. This is where a ton of info gets dumped on us. In the flashback, Major Zero explains the mission to Jack. He says, "Jack, I've got some big news. CIA HQ finally gave us the green light for Operation Virtuous. The future of Fox depends on this mission. If we succeed, our unit will officially be recognized. There's a Soviet scientist named Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov, one of the top weapons developers in the East. Through one of our agents, he requested asylum in the West. Sokolov was the head of the OKB 754 Design Bureau. This place was one of the Soviet Union's top secret weapons research facilities. On April 12, 1961, the Soviets launched the world's first manned spaceflight, Vostok, the rocket that took Yuri Gagarin into space. Sokolov played a key role in designing the multi-engine boosters for that rocket. After Gagarin's flight, Sokolov dropped rocket development to head the newly established OKB 754 Bureau. The main reason this genius scientist asked for asylum was because he was terrified of his own creations. You could call it a crisis of conscience. As part of his conditions, Sokolov's family was smuggled across the border first by one of our agents before he himself made the move. During the mission, which I personally commanded, we successfully snuck him over the Berlin Wall into the West. We managed to get Sokolov to the West, but the journey left him in terrible shape. Because of that, we had to admit him to a hospital in West Berlin for a full checkup. It took about 2 weeks and more than 600 miles to move him from his Soviet research facility to Berlin. But just a week later, an even bigger story broke out: the Cuban Missile Crisis. On October 16, 1962, President Kennedy got word that the Soviets were setting up medium-range ballistic missiles, IRBMs, in Cuba. Kennedy demanded that the Soviets dismantle them and clear out. At the same time, he ordered a naval blockade to stop any additional missile shipments from arriving. The Soviets didn't back down. Instead, they put their military forces on full alert. Meanwhile, Soviet cargo ships loaded with missiles kept heading straight for Cuba. Both the US and the USSR were on the brink of an all-out nuclear war. Emergency meetings at the UN Security Council and backdoor negotiations were all that stood in the way of a nuclear strike. Finally, on October 28th, the Soviets agreed to pull their missiles out of Cuba, and the world dodged a nuclear holocaust. But of course, the Soviets didn't back down without getting something in return. Jack cuts in, "You mean the deal where the US agreed to pull its IRBM missiles out of Turkey?" Major Zero replies, "No, those Jupiter missiles in Turkey were already obsolete. We were planning to scrap them anyway. They had zero real strategic value for either side. That whole Turkey deal was just a smokescreen, a cover story to mislead the world's intelligence agencies. What the Soviets really wanted was Sokolov. They wanted us to hand him back. They pulled out of Cuba in exchange for Sokolov. At the time, we had no clue. Either we gave up Sokolov or we risked global nuclear war. In the end, we had no choice. President Kennedy accepted Khrushchev's demand. The very next day, I personally took Sokolov out of the hospital and handed him over to Eastern Bloc agents. I'll never forget the way he screamed, "Save me," as they dragged him away until he disappeared from my sight. About a month ago, we got fresh intel from one of our spies. Turns out Sokolov was taken back to a research facility and forced, under KGB supervision, to work on a new weapon. And apparently, the project is close to completion. We don't know the exact details, but it seems to be a new type of nuclear device. The Soviets have been running nuclear tests out in Semipalatinsk for over a year now. We're talking about a weapon so powerful that they were willing to withdraw from Cuba just to keep it. Jack asks, "So, is Sokolov still at that research center?" Zero replies, "According to our intel, he's been moved to a location in the mountains called Selenoyarsk, near a place nicknamed the Virgin Cliffs, about 3 miles to the west. That's where they're running field tests on the weapon. But that's also what gives us our best shot at rescuing him. If he were still locked up in the main research facility, this mission would be impossible. This is our last chance. Sokolov knew it too. That's why he reached out to us now." As Jack is still free-falling after the jump, Major Zero doesn't stop talking. He keeps filling him in. "Listen, Jack, your mission is to infiltrate Selenoyarsk, keep Sokolov safe and bring him back to the west. If we don't get him out before that weapon is finished, we're staring at a major crisis." After dropping a lot of altitude, Jack finally pulls his parachute. Zero then explains how extraction is going to work. Once the rescue is confirmed, head to the recovery point. We'll drop a line and pull you back up into the combat plane. After a few lighthearted jokes between them, Jack touches down and finds himself in this stunning jungle environment. He gets rid of the drop gear and checks in with HQ.
From here on out, we'll be using code names to refer to each other. Your code name for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake from now on. You're not to mention your real name.
Snake?
What, you don't like snakes?
What do you mean?
Well, you've eaten one before, haven't you?
In survival training. What about you, Major? What should I call you?
Let's see. I'll be Tom. Call me Major Tom.
Tom then gives Snake some survival tips. "You got medicine, a gun, and a knife in your pack. Use them for hunting and survival." Snake replies that his backpack actually got stuck in a tree during the landing. So he heads over, climbs up, and recovers his gear. Once he's got it, Zero's voice comes back on the radio, explaining the gameplay systems, how to use the backpack, switch items, and so on. He even hypes up Snake's weapon. "Your gun's been custom-tuned for stealth. Move and get the job done, and get out without leaving a trace." Then as Zero warns him, "Remember, your presence on Soviet soil could spark an international incident. You can't let anyone see you, or even know you were here." After giving Snake all those tips and advice about his gear, Zero tells him to check in with the team medic and coordinate with her. After a bit of joking around and trying to get paramedic to reveal her real name, Snake finally listens to what she has to say. At the end of their chat, paramedic tells him, "If you make it back alive, I'll tell you my real name." Once the Fox unit finishes their briefings, Major Zero brings up the boss, Snake's legendary mentor and instructor. The boss was the agent who helped us set up this mission. Right after that, the boss herself comes on the line. After some quick greetings, Snake points out that it's been 5 years, 72 days, and 18 hours since she left. The boss replies, "I had to leave without saying anything. It was for a top-secret mission." She knows Snake so well that just by hearing his voice, she realizes he's lost weight. The boss tells Snake that he doesn't need her anymore. Snake pushes back, saying there's still so much she could have taught him. She showed him the techniques. But what about how to actually think like a soldier? The boss explains that this is something no one can teach. A soldier needs to be strong in body, spirit, and technique, but the only thing that can really be passed down is technique. And even that isn't what matters most. What truly matters is spirit. Mind and body are just two sides of the same coin, inseparable. She tells Snake that she can't teach him how to think. He has to figure that out for himself. Then her tone sharpens. She warns him to listen carefully. Just because soldiers fight side by side today doesn't mean they'll always be allies. Getting attached to your comrades is one of the greatest mistakes a soldier can make. Politics decide who you fight against, and politics is alive. It changes with time. The friend of today can easily become the enemy of tomorrow. Hearing the boss's words, Snake asks her, "Is that why you left me?" She answers, "No, it had nothing to do with you. Like I told you before, Jack, I was on a top-secret mission. A soldier's duty is to follow orders. He's not in a position to ask why. But you're always looking for a reason to fight. You were born a warrior, but you're not yet a true soldier. A soldier is nothing more than a political tool, and if he's a professional soldier, That truth doubles. Right and wrong have no place on the battlefield. The soldier has no friends, no enemies. Only the mission matters. Your job is to follow the orders you're given. That's what it means to be a soldier. Snake pushes back. I'll do whatever it takes to complete the mission. I don't care about politics or any of that stuff. The boss shakes her head. That's not what I'm talking about. Sooner or later, your conscience will catch up with you. In the end, you'll have to choose. Do you want to live as a soldier or just a man with a gun? She continues. There's an old saying from the East, loyalty to the end. Do you know what that means? Snake answers, it means loyalty to your country. The boss corrects him. It means dedicating yourself entirely to your country. Snake replies, I follow the orders of the president and my superiors. If necessary, I give my life for them. The boss explains, but the president and those officers won't always be in power. When their term ends, others will take their place. Snake insists, I'll follow whoever my leader is, no matter who's in charge. The boss reminds him, the people aren't the ones dictating your missions. Surprised, Snake asks, then who does? Her answer is chilling. People's values change over time, and so do their leaders. There's no such thing as an absolute enemy. The enemies we fight are only relative, always shifting with time. As long as we stay loyal to the end, it doesn't matter what we believe in, not even the people we love. Snake reflects on her words and says, so that's how a soldier is supposed to think. The boss concludes, the only thing we can ever place absolute faith in is the mission. Before ending their talk, she brings up Snake's skill in CQC close quarters combat. It's the fighting system that both she and Snake developed together, a style that would go on to define him as a soldier. After the boss's long speech, Major Zero, the leader of Fox, explains why Jack's codename is Snake. He says the legendary unit the boss commanded back in World War II was called the Cobra Unit, a team of heroes who ended the war and saved the world. As long as Snake has legendary figures like that to look up to, he'll always find strength in his mission. With that, Snake finishes his radio calls, takes down everyone's frequencies, and sets out toward the location where Sokolov is being held. After quietly taking out a few Soviet soldiers, he makes his way to some ruins where the scientist is kept. Slipping past enemy patrols, Snake finally comes face to face with his target. When he first sees him, Sokolov is frantically burning documents.
You must be Sokolov.
Are you one of Volgin's men? You'll never get it from me.
Shocked by Snake's sudden appearance, the scientist blurts out, are you one of Volgin's men? Snake calmly replies, I'm with the CIA. I'm here to protect you and get you across the border, past the Iron Curtain. Realizing time is short and that people are coming for him, Sokolov urges Snake to escape immediately. Snake then asks him, who exactly is after you? Sokolov answers,
Colonel Volgin of GRU. You in the West know him as Thunderbolt.
Volgin is part of the army's extremist faction, and his goal is nothing less than seizing control of the Soviet Union itself. Ever since the Cuban Missile Crisis 2 years ago, Khrushchev has been pushing for peaceful coexistence with the West. Despite resistance from the military elite and provincial authorities, he's managed to keep his critics quiet. But after the disastrous failure of his agricultural policies and the assassination of President Kennedy last November, Khrushchev's position has grown dangerously unstable. Kennedy's death meant Khrushchev lost his strongest partner on the world stage, and with it, the very foundation of his power is crumbling fast. A group is already plotting to take advantage of this weakness, overthrow him, and replace him with Brezhnev and Kosygin. Brezhnev is premier, with Kosygin as his second. The mastermind behind this conspiracy is none other than Colonel Volgin of the GRU. He controls a hidden research facility modeled after OKB-754, the Grand Design Bureau, and he's been using it to push his own agenda. But even that isn't enough for him. Volgin is scheming to take control of a secret weapon, want to help create, and use it as leverage to expand his power even further. After introducing Volgin, Sokolov realizes something shocking. All those KGB soldiers guarding him weren't actually there to stop him from escaping. Their real purpose was to keep GRU operatives and Colonel Volgin himself from taking him away. I'll explain the difference between the GRU and the KGB later, but for now just know this, the KGB is far more tied to the state than the GRU. After this revelation, Snake checks in with Major Zero. The Major orders him to head to the recovery point and wait for extraction gear. Before signing off though, he mentions losing contact with the boss, something that instantly worries Snake. And honestly, it makes sense. After more than 5 years apart, he's finally reunited with his mentor, and there's still so much he wants to say to her. Snake and Sokolov make their way out together, but suddenly they're surrounded by KGB troops.
Freeze!
You! You're from the Ocelot unit of Spetsnaz. Huh. What's a GRU soldier doing here?
Soldier?
Right then, a young, sharp-looking guy shows up, twirling his revolver like he's putting on a show. This cocky, pose-obsessed soldier goes by the code name Ocelot, the same man who will later become Revolver Ocelot. His real name isn't revealed just yet. He's commander of the Ocelot unit, an elite squad under the umbrella of Spetsnaz, the Soviet Union's special forces. Both Ocelot's unit and Spetsnaz itself operate under the GRU. You can think of the Ocelot unit as the cream of the crop within Spetsnaz. Ocelot also has this ridiculously flashy move. Instead of calling his men the normal way, he meows like a cat to summon them. After all his posturing, the handsome Ocelot mistakes Snake for the boss. Since he's actually after Sokolov, a fight breaks out between them.
I can't say it feels good to kill a comrade, even if it is for the GRU.
Sokolov, take cover.
Huh. You're not the boss, are you?
GRU operatives!
What is that stance? Huh. That gun. If you're not the boss, then die.
Major!
Using his CQC skills, Snake quickly overpowers the cocky young soldier. During the skirmish, the terrified scientist takes the chance to run. Snake continues to take down GRU operatives one by one, leaving them all incapacitated. After defeating Ocelot, Snake points out the flaws in his half-baked techniques. Once their brief exchange is over, Ocelot is left unconscious. Snake presses on, reaching Sokolov, who's visibly shaken by the presence of Ocelot's men. The scientist pleads with Snake to get him out of there by any means necessary. Snake, knowing the mission comes above all else, promises to do whatever it takes to get Sokolov to the west. At that moment, a distinct sound catches their attention.
Calm down. I'll get you out of here, I promise. And we've got some of the best backup we could ask for.
Look!
Their eyes widen as they spot the Shagohod, a massive nuclear-capable missile tank. This breathtaking weapon is the very project Sokolov has been working on. The scientist explains. They've only completed the first phase of the project. The second phase is still ahead. That's why Volgin and the GRU are after me. Once this weapon is finished, the Cold War could end, ushering in an era of fear and terror. I had no choice but to cooperate with them, and I don't want to die. I just want to return to America and see my wife and children again. With their conversation concluded, the two heroes continue their path. They reach a bridge and are startled to find, in a strangely coordinated setup with a boss, two massive crates waiting.
Boss?
Good work, Jack.
What are you doing here?
Sokolov comes with me.
The situation becomes even more tense when the Cobra unit suddenly appears, each member demonstrating bizarre and deadly abilities. One of them uses bees to create chaos, while another grabs Sokolov and carries him toward a waiting helicopter. After the Cobra unit takes Sokolov and disappears, Colonel Vulgan suddenly appears. True to his nickname, Thunderbolt, he can generate and control electricity. He greets the boss, and Snake asks what's going on. The boss calmly explains that she defected to the Soviet Union, and that Sokolov is a small gift for her new hosts. Vulgan picks up the crates and points out that they contain nuclear warheads, asking the boss about Snake. She dismisses him as a rookie, unfit for the Cobra unit and not ready for battle. Vulgan then tells the boss he has seen her face, and it's time to finish the job.
It's a child, too pure for us Cobras. He has not yet found an emotion to carry into battle.
What are you talking about?
Think you can pull the trigger?
He's seen my face. We can't let him live. If Khrushchev finds out about this, we're finished. He must die.
Wait. He's my apprentice. I'll take care of him. Jack, you can't come with us.
As Snake's former mentor and CQC master, the boss brutally overpowers him, breaking his left arm and hurling him off the bridge into the river below. And in a desperate move, Snake grabs her iconic bandana from her head. With the boss and Vulgan making their way to Sokolov's research facility, the Shagohod finally falls into Vulgan's hands, setting the stage for the next phase of the mission. After the fall, we see Snake washed up on shore, his body battered and bruised. Exhausted, he barely responds to his team's calls, but with guidance from paramedic and the medicine he carries, he manages to tend to his wounds and wraps his broken arm with the bandana he took from the boss. He waits patiently for extraction via the Fulton recovery system, the balloon that will lift him back to the Fox unit. While resting and waiting, helicopters carrying the Shagohod back to the Granin research facility fly overhead. The boss appears briefly, waving at him in a strange, sorrowful way, silently saying goodbye before disappearing. In one of the helicopters, we see Colonel Vulgan, Ocelot, and an unknown woman. Vulgan opens the 2 crates the boss had given him and discovers the Davy Crockett, a small nuclear weapon made by the United States. While he's admiring his new toy, Ocelot catches a scent and moves toward the woman. Vulgan asks, "Who is she?" Ocelot answers, "Apparently, she's Sokolov's wife." Vulgan shamelessly approaches her and makes crude remarks before declaring, "I'll take her with me." The woman tries to fire a hidden lipstick weapon, known as the Kiss of Death, at Vulgan, but he easily catches her wrist. He lets her go, saying, "Maybe we'll have use for you later." Then Vulgan grabs the nuclear weapon and, in a ruthless move, decides to destroy research facility where Sokolov first developed the project. Ocelot protests, "Even if there are enemies, they're still our countrymen. Do you really want to launch a nuclear strike on your own people?" Vulgan ignores him and carries out his plan, showing just how far he's willing to go for power.
Colonel!
Guys, let me tell you something, this game is packed with details, way more than you might expect, and you really can't skip over them without missing something important. Every little detail matters, so I'm going to spend some time explaining things because it's necessary. Let's start with the Cold War. The Cold War was a strategic, economic, and ideological conflict between the world's superpowers, the Soviet Union and the United States, along with their respective allies. I mention it because it wasn't a hot war in the traditional sense. Instead of constant battles, it relied on diplomacy, economic pressure, propaganda, espionage, assassinations, and other covert operations. Key U.S. allies included the United Kingdom, France, Israel, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and a few others. On the Soviet side, important allies were Poland, Syria, Romania, Cuba, North Korea, and others. Despite its weaknesses, the Soviet Union also maintained ties with China. The Cold War lasted more than 4 decades, from the end of World War II, around 1947, until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. It was a conflict driven by global fear of war and nuclear holocaust, ultimately kept in check by nuclear deterrence and a fragile conditional peace. Now let's talk about the difference between the KGB and the GRU, or more broadly, the State Security Committee versus the main intelligence directorate. The GRU was first established in 1918 by Leon Trotsky, the first leader of the Red Army, with the purpose of managing military intelligence and acting as the Soviet Army's intelligence agency. The Soviet leadership gave the GRU almost complete independence, and Lenin specifically ordered other groups not to interfere in its operations. Despite this, over time the KGB infiltrated the GRU with its own agents, leading to intense rivalry between the two organizations. During the Soviet era, very little was publicly known about the GRU, but after the collapse of the Soviet bloc, its presence across Russia became well documented. Today, alongside the Spetsnaz forces, which also appear in the game, the GRU continues to operate in reality. As mentioned earlier, the KGB was more state-controlled and bureaucratic, while the GRU maintained a greater degree of independence and military focus. On August 30, 1964, at 11:30 p.m. over the Arctic Ocean, after the virtuous mission, we see the Fox team sending Snake back into the Soviet Union with the latest equipment, known as the D-21 Lucky. In this flashback, we understand how Snake gets a second chance and is sent back to complete his unfinished mission. We see Snake exhausted from relentless questioning by the authorities, who treat him like a walking confession machine. Major Zero, hearing this, says, the American officials, are looking for someone to blame for that heavy loss, and you're the perfect target. Snake asks, does this mean Fox is finished? Zero quickly dismisses the idea, replying, no, that's exactly why I'm here, to talk it through with you. This morning I spoke with CIA agents. Apparently, yesterday Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, contacted President Lyndon Johnson, blaming the United States for the nuclear explosion that occurred. He explains this based on the fact that the Fox military plane had been in Soviet airspace at the time. President Johnson worked to prevent a potential nuclear war and gave Khrushchev a full account of the situation, assuring him that the incident was caused by Colonel Volgin and the boss, who had recently defected to the Soviet Union and joined the GRU. The boss had stolen 2 portable Davy Crockett nuclear devices from the US and presented them as a gift to Volgin. Despite all these explanations, Khrushchev didn't fully accept Johnson's words and demanded proof of America's innocence. He admitted that without it, the Soviet Union might be forced into a full-scale war with the United States, since Khrushchev's power and control over the military had been seriously weakened after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he needed to answer to his government. As a result, he required concrete evidence and asked the U.S. to secretly assassinate the boss and take out Colonel Volgin, who posed a serious threat with his plans to overthrow Khrushchev and place Brezhnev in power. Johnson accepts Khrushchev's request and instructs the CIA to carry out the operation. The CIA then turns to the Fox unit, giving them a final chance to prove themselves. Major Zero explains to Snake, the CIA chose you for this mission because you know the boss better than anyone. You were once her student. He adds a grave warning. If we fail this mission, both you and I will be executed. Back in the present, before reaching the launch site, Zero provides Snake with critical information. He points out the collaboration between the KGB, who have shared their communication satellites and planted spies within their organization. Apparently, in September 1960, 2 agents from the NSA, the National Security Agency, an official U.S. government organization, defected to the Soviet Union and joined the KGB. These agents were trained specifically for situations like this. Their code names are Adam and Eve. Adam has infiltrated the higher ranks of Volgin's team and is prepared to provide Snake with an escape route. Once Snake reaches the ground, he must make contact with him. After their discussion ends and Snake reaches the designated location, he is deployed to the ground using an advanced drone, dodging Soviet fighter jets along the way. Once on the ground, Zero once again goes over Snake's code name and mission objectives. Snake has been sent back into the Soviet Union to accomplish several critical tasks. Eliminate the boss and members of the Cobra unit, rescue our scientist Sokolov, assassinate Colonel Volgin. Destroy the Shagohod, the advanced nuclear weapon. The mission is called Operation Snake Eater. After introducing the mission, Zero announces a change in his codename from Tom to Harry because of a silly reason. He explains, I stole this name from the movie The Great Escape. I thought the person who ultimately escapes the prison was named Tom, but it was actually Harry. So from now on, call me Harry. He then goes over the team members' radio frequencies, introduces Mr. Sigint, the master of military equipment, and shares his frequency as well. Finally, he gives Snake the code for his nighttime meeting with Adam.
The password is, who are the Patriots? And Lali Lule Lo.
Lali Lule Lo. Gotcha.
After hearing Zero, Snake heads to his rendezvous with Adam at the ruins of an old factory. But almost immediately, the boss appears above him. Snake's attention is caught by a white horse, and as he moves to pet it, he suddenly hears the boss's voice. And in that instant, she attacks him.
Looks like death wasn't ready for you yet.
Boss!
That arm still hurt?
What are you doing here?
The boss berates Snake, shouting things like, you shouldn't be here, and I'm no longer your boss. She repeatedly knocks him to the ground and detonates the drone Snake had used to reach the area. Before leaving, Snake asks, why did you defect to the Soviet Union? The boss replies, I am loyal to the end, to my mission. What about you, Jack? Are you loyal to your country, or to me, to your mission or your convictions, to your team or your emotions? You don't know the truth yet, but sooner or later, you'll have to choose. I don't expect you to forgive me, but you can't afford to fail. If you can't leave your past behind, you won't survive. And if I see you again, I'll kill you. With that, the boss rides off with her horse, and Snake, startled by the explosion she caused, has no choice but to flee before the approaching Soviet soldiers arrive. Unfortunately, the boss destroyed Snake's gun. Struggling with no weapon, Snake makes his way through the Soviet soldiers in the area and finally reaches his rendezvous point. Just as he arrives, the roar of an engine fills the air, and a beam of light shines on his face. Blinded and not wanting to be taken out by the noise, he calls out to the figure to turn off the engine. The unknown figure asks Snake's identity, and upon hearing her voice, he's shocked and mutters, I thought you were a man. She responds, Adam couldn't handle it. Snake presses, okay, give me the nighttime code. Who's the Patriot? He repeats it several times and hears Lali Lulo, but she doesn't answer. Suddenly, KGB soldiers spring from their hiding spots. The mysterious woman takes them all out effortlessly, then reveals herself.
We're trapped.
Get down! There is your answer.
Her name is Eva, and she has a peculiar habit of leaving her chest uncovered, even lowering her zipper before speaking or taking action. While the reasons for this strange behavior remain unclear, you'll understand more as the story unfolds. After their initial meeting, Snake and Eva move into the ruins to exchange information. Snake asks Eva about Adam's fate, but she dodges the question. She keeps trying to get close to him, but Snake, a master of self-control, keeps her at a distance. Eva explains, Colonel Volgin is very suspicious. That's why he eliminated Adam, and I had to take over. After some small talk, Snake compliments Eva's impressive gun, and she mentions it was made in China. The conversation about weapons leads Eva to give Snake a customized high-tech gun, which he spends a few minutes getting familiar with. She also provides him with a white lab coat and his previous weapon, saying, "You'll need this coat to infiltrate the lab where Sokolov is being held." Eva then fully explains the route to the laboratory, and after discussing the timing for the mission, Snake decides to rest there for the night before moving forward. In the dead of night, while Snake is asleep, we see Eva sending a message with her portable radio, but who it's for remains a mystery. At dawn, Snake is jolted awake by a noise outside, and they realize Ocelot soldiers have tracked them.
What's the matter?
We're surrounded. I see 4 of them.
We've got company. It's the Ocelot unit. Let's get out of here. Hurry.
Don't forget your gear.
Eva escapes through a tunnel beneath the factory, while Snake takes matters into his own hands, taking out the soldiers one by one in various ways. Soon enough, the persistent Ocelot shows up again. He has figured out that Eva is a spy and grabs her wrist, but he still doesn't know her identity. Snake notices Ocelot's new gun and congratulates him, but immediately mocks it, saying that gun won't do you any good in situations like this. While they exchange words, Eva tries to escape but fails. Ocelot, after touching Eva's chest and catching her scent, realizes the spy in front of him is a woman. Snake, teasing Ocelot, points out that his revolver is empty. There's nothing you can do now. Ocelot struggles a few more times, only to confirm Snake is right, and at that moment, Eva throws him down, taking control of the situation.
That thing only carries 6 shots. The Makarov carries 8. You have to get a feel for how many you have left. This is a high-class weapon. It's not meant for shooting people. Damn!
Seeing the situation slipping away, Ocelot mutters, "It's not over yet," and storms off, his face and clothes covered in dirt. Eva raises her weapon to shoot him, but Snake stops her. "Let him go, he's still young." Since Eva is a KGB spy embedded deep within Volgin's ranks, she mutters to herself, "I need to get there before him. If I'm too late, my cover is blown and everything's ruined." With a mix of acrobatics and sheer audacity, she vanishes into the shadows, leaving Snake to continue toward the Granin research facility. On his way, Snake must navigate a dense forest and a treacherous swamp, and unsurprisingly, Ocelot appears again. He lets out his signature cat-like call, signaling his troops. Surrounded and facing some flashy yet ineffective moves from Ocelot, Snake engages him in another quick but decisive fight. Once again, Snake proves to be the superior fighter. In the midst of their battle, the swarming, annoying insects Snake encountered earlier on the bridge make a sudden return, slaughtering the soldiers around them in brutal fashion. Ocelot uses his revolver to fight them off as best he can, then makes his escape. Seeing no other options, Snake takes a daring leap into the ravine, throwing himself into the unknown. After advancing a short distance through total darkness, Snake encounters the first member of the Cobra unit. The Pain, born sometime between 1900 and 1910, this grotesque figure is infected with a mysterious parasite that allows him to secrete pheromones and control swarms of insects. His nickname comes from the fact that whenever he experiences pain, his body releases an extraordinary surge of adrenaline, far beyond what an ordinary human can handle.
Let's get started.
Snake quickly deals with this formidable foe. As the Pain falls, the micro bomb embedded in his body detonates, finally silencing the incessant buzzing of the insects.
The Pain!
These micro bombs, activated upon death, are present in the bodies of all Cobra members, making them as deadly in defeat as they are in life. After passing the pain, Snake continues through the cave toward a canal that leads to a storage area. From there, he can reach the Granin research facility. After navigating the canal and river, he spots the dock, where Colonel Volgin is torturing Tatiana, Sokolov's love, forcing her to complete the Shagohod project. At that moment, Ocelot appears again and plays Russian roulette with Sokolov. Before the game ends, the boss arrives and tells him to stop.
The Cobras will take care of him.
After Ocelot leaves, the boss informs Volgin that the pain has been killed, which makes him furious. Volgin then forcefully tries to take Tatiana and commit vile acts, showing his twisted and sick nature. Note that Tatiana is actually Eva, and her full role will become clearer later in the story. After hearing their conversation, Snake takes out the soldiers on the dock one by one and enters the warehouse. Inside, he confronts more soldiers and neutralizes them as well. After moving through the warehouse and passing the fences, he dons the white coat that Eva gave him and enters the Granin research facility. Wearing the coat and his iconic bandana, Snake explores the facility and eventually reaches the main office. Upon entering, he sees Alexander Leonovich Granin and listens to him. Granin first talks about his achievements and illustrious career in the Soviet Union, then says, "I was once the top scientist in the USSR when it came to weapons development, and now I'm the director of this research center. With my inventions, I defeated many enemies of this land and earned a Medal of Honor from Lenin himself for my hard work. I was formidable until that bastard showed up. With Sokolov's arrival, my research project was shelved and my funding vanished. My project was meant to revolutionize nuclear missile systems, a bipedal tank, a mobile tank, a robot." Granin refers to his project as Metal Gear because he believes this tank is the missing link between infantry and artillery. He says, "I won't give up this project so easily. I'm planning to send the blueprints and details of this tank to my friend in America. One day Volgin and his gang will regret what they did." Granin tells Snake, "A tank doesn't need missiles, it needs these." Snake responds, "Nice shoes," to which Granin replies, "No, Snake, I mean the legs. These legs are what will revolutionize the battlefield." In conclusion, Granin says, "They chose Sokolov and shut down my project. The philosopher's legacy has been given to him." Snake asks, "What are you talking about?" And Granin explains, "Colonel Volgin inherited the immense and incredible philosopher's legacy. Volgin's father was responsible for the philosopher's money laundering operations. Amid the chaos of war, he somehow gained access to their treasure, and Volgin illegally seized it. We never worried about project funding. All development expenses were covered by Volgin's massive fortune. The weapons created here carry the genes for an entirely new form of warfare. My research funding and the salaries of my team have all been redirected to the Shagohod project. Tomorrow, they'll conduct the final test, while Sokolov prepares the system in the main factory. Meanwhile, here I am, entertaining an enemy spy and drinking like a dog." Granin warns Snake not to go to Groznyj Grad, saying that doing so would be a death sentence. In a strangely amusing moment, while tipsy, Granin begins explaining to Snake how to infiltrate the military fortress, prompted by Snake's earlier comment about his shoes. Apparently, those shoes were a gift from Tatiana. This detail is revealed later. The eccentric scientist carefully explains the secret entrance to the fortress, and even gives Snake the key to the tunnel that leads inside. After Granin's explanations, Snake asks him, "Why are you helping me?" Granin replies, "Unlike Sokolov, the thought of fleeing the Soviet Union has never crossed my mind. I love this country. I love this land. I can't even imagine living anywhere else. I want to be a hero for this great land." His help is driven mostly by a desire to ease his conscience and to see the Metal Gear project completed. After listening to Granin's ramblings, Snake leaves the research center and heads back toward the warehouse. Along the way, he encounters another member of the Cobra unit, the Fear, who is even stronger and more relentless than the pain. At first, the Fear attacks Snake using poisonous crossbow bolts, but Snake manages to counteract the toxins with his antidotes and medicines. Using his combat skills and clever tactics, Snake overcomes this deadly foe. This strange character has no detailed backstory. All that is known is that due to his terrifying behavior and insane actions during World War II, he earned the nickname the Spider Soldier, or the Fear. Now let's take a look at John, also known as Jack. Jack was born in 1935, and his professional military career began in the 1950s. In June 1950, he became a protege of the boss, and they fought together in the Korean War, the conflict between North and South Korea. The boss trained Jack rigorously and expertly in a wide range of skills: warfare tactics, handling various weapons, survival, espionage, sabotage, psychology, and foreign languages such as Russian. Later, they also developed CQC, or close quarters combat, together. Jack held immense respect for the boss, seeing her as more than just a mentor. She was like family, like a mother, like a lover. It was a deeply complex bond that becomes clearer as the story unfolds. Everything was going well until June 12, 1959, when the boss mysteriously disappeared, which leads into the events we see at the start of the game. In 1954, Jack participated in the Bikini Atoll nuclear test, the first airborne detonation of a bomb. Unlike many of his comrades who were present during the test, Jack showed no signs of leukemia, thyroid cancer, or radiation poisoning, though he was quarantined for a time. Before August 1964, the period just before the events of this game, Jack served several years with the U.S. Army's Green Berets. Beyond his expertise in close combat and espionage, he gained experience in urban and maritime sniper operations. Through his service in various units, ranks, and combat missions, Jack earned numerous honors and medals. Just like the Pain, once killed, the microbomb inside his body activates and explodes. With the fear defeated, Snake continues his path toward the warehouse and the fortress of Grozny Grad. Jack, after clearing out a few soldiers in a warehouse, makes his way outside. On the road ahead, Eva contacts him and says, "I'm inside Grozny Grad." Snake, hearing the name of the fortress, recalls the drunken but helpful scientist Granin and tells Eva about the secret passage Granin had revealed to him. He even explains the entrance route Granin had described. But Eva, much to his frustration, shuts that plan down. Unfortunately, the mountain pass to the tunnels leading into the fortress has been sealed off. After a bit of back and forth, Snake realizes that the key Granin had given him doesn't fit the locked entrance at all. In the end, Eva promises she'll figure something out. After speaking with Eva, Snake presses onward through the dense jungle, only to come face to face with the End, another member of the Cobra unit. This strange, weary old man is no ordinary opponent. He's a legendary sniper, a master of long-range combat, especially in forest terrain. Incredibly, the End was born back in the early 1860s. Over the course of countless battles, he was gravely injured multiple times, and during that time, he became infected with a unique parasite. That parasite not only extended his lifespan far beyond a normal human's, but also granted him almost supernatural abilities. With these gifts, the End became an unmatched marksman, single-handedly inventing and refining many of the techniques that would later define modern sniping. His mastery earned him the title of the Father of Sniping. In fact, a great deal of what he learned was passed on directly to the boss, who incorporated his teachings into her own combat style. The End could camouflage himself flawlessly even in brightly lit or exposed areas, and unlike most snipers, he never needed to relocate constantly. He was capable of lying motionless in a sniping position for days, even weeks, without moving an inch. His only companion, and sometimes his spotter, was his parrot, which helped him detect enemies. But perhaps his most bizarre and frightening ability was his way of living. He survived through photosynthesis, drawing strength and nourishment directly from nature itself. This bond with the natural world made him an even more terrifying adversary, as if the entire jungle was working with him. After finally defeating the End, Snake moves forward. Like the other members of the Cobra unit, the End dies and his body explodes.
Comes to a close. What a splendid way to end it all. I have no regrets. I can return to the Forum
With this victory, Snake reaches the tunnel, climbs what feels like an endless 1,000-meter ladder, and emerges at Krasnogorj Mountain. Snake eliminates the soldiers stationed around the area and enters one of the ruins at the top. There, he unexpectedly comes across Eva, who is in the middle of changing her clothes.
Well, that was quick.
Snake's eyes immediately fall not on her body, but on the scars that cover it. Curious, he asks about them. Eva explains they're from Colonel Volgin. That bastard is a sadist. He enjoys inflicting pain. While they continue talking, Snake notices an old scar across Eva's stomach and asks, "What about this one? What's the story here?" Eva answers, "I got it while defecting to the Soviet Union," but Snake immediately counters, "No, this scar is older than that." Eva avoids the question, giving no clear explanation. Changing the subject, she tells him, Phase 2 of the Shagohod is about to begin. It seems Khrushchev is planning to send his forces to crash their little party. As a precaution, Colonel Volgin has ordered his troops to be on full alert. Eva gives Snake a key along with some pre-packed Chinese rations, then explains the way into Groznyj fortress. She tells him Sokolov is being held in the very heart of the fortress, inside the weapons lab. The lab is divided into 3 sections: the East Wing, which holds the research facilities, the main wing where the weapons are assembled, including the Shagohod, and the West Wing, which connects to the main building through a corridor. Sokolov is inside the main building. To get in, you'll need to disguise yourself as Major Ivan Radanovich Raykov. Hearing this, Snake reminds her, "The boss said that once I rescue Sokolov, you'll provide us with a way out." Eva confirms, about 30 miles north of here, there's a lake. I've hidden a Weeg there. It's a state-of-the-art aircraft, pretty advanced and powerful. Snake replies, "Fine, but I don't know how to fly it." Eva reassures him, "Don't worry, I'm a skilled pilot." Snake is taken aback. Eva seems to be a master of everything, flying, motorcycling, and countless other skills. Yet he shows no suspicion. Despite being the ultimate spy, Snake doesn't even question her. Honestly, Snake, not your sharpest moment.
What's the story between you and the boss?
She was like a mother, and my master.
And your lover?
It went deeper than that.
Deeper?
Half of me belongs to the boss.
Do you love her?
No, nothing like that.
Do you hate her?
Does it have to be one or the other? Love or hate?
Between a man and a woman? You bet.
For 10 years, we lived and died together. You couldn't possibly understand.
And you think you can kill her now? That's your mission, isn't it? Assassinating the boss? Snake? Is there anyone you like? Someone special?
I've never been interested in other people's lives.
You were interested in the boss.
She was different.
Really? How do you feel about me?
I should be asking you the same question.
Me? I can fall in love if it's part of the mission. Even with you. Snake?
But just at that moment, a wild sound echoes from outside, cutting the moment short. The two step out of their hideout, wish each other luck, and promise not to get themselves killed. Before entering the fortress, Snake surveys the area with his binoculars and spots Volgin. Suspecting Granin of being the spy, Volgin has beaten him nearly to death, trying to force out a confession.
Colonel.
Ocelot, shocked at the sight, asks, "Did he say anything? Was he the spy?" Volgin answers, "I don't know, he died before I could get it out of him." Then Volgin pulls off Granin's boot, the one given to him by Eva, and finds a hidden transmitter inside. Ocelot, startled, says, "So he was the spy, or maybe someone else was just using him." He even warns that the real infiltrator could be one of their own comrades. Once again, Ocelot and Volgin clash over Volgin's brutality. But as always, Ocelot can't do anything about it. His rank is too low to challenge him directly.
And Granin was the spy?
Perhaps he was being used by someone else.
Perhaps. This man was our comrade.
Comrade or not, he's of no use to us now.
I don't approve of your methods.
I don't need your approval. I'm in command here.
And that nuclear shell?
Still feeling sore about that, are you? What are you gonna do? Report it to the authorities? This is war, Major. A Cold War, fought with information and espionage. We must root out spies wherever they hide. It is kill or be killed. Potential threats must be weeded out. Your feelings are a menace to the unity of our organization. Someone is guiding the enemy's hand. A single man can only accomplish so much. Make no mistake, there is a spy among us.
But casting suspicion on our own
The
comrades.
C3 explosives have been stolen.
You think it was the American?
No, he could not have reached this fortress yet.
Then who?
I'd be careful about suspecting your own men.
While they're arguing, the boss suddenly arrives and warns Volgin, "I have to make sure you don't start suspecting your own men." At that same moment, Eva appears as well. The boss informs Volgin that both the End and the Fear have been killed. Shocked, Volgin growls. How is he taking down the legendary Cobra units so easily? The boss calmly reassures him, "Don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on him. America isn't just after Sokolov. They want to destroy the Shagohod and claim your inheritance, the Philosopher's legacy. And yes, they're planning to eliminate me too." With those words, the boss moves on to the Davy Crockett, the handheld nuclear launcher, and then leaves the scene.
Impossible. The legacy,
Then they're out to kill me as well. Colonel, tighten the security on this place. He's coming here, I'm sure of it. I'm gonna get the Davy Crockett.
After witnessing the events in the fortress, Snake makes his way inside and encounters another member of the Cobra unit in the tunnels leading to Groznyj Grad, the Fury. Let's take a look at this character's past. This fiery individual was born in the latter half of the 1900s. Like the other Cobra members, the Fury joined the unit during World War II. Later, he was selected as the first human to be sent into space, even before the person we mentioned at the start of the game, and even before Yuri Gagarin. During the return phase of his flight, as he was re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, an accident occurred in the facility, causing a massive fire. The Fury got trapped in the flames, and his body was severely burned. While this was happening, he could see the Earth through the fire, watching it burn. This wild and fiery man lost control of his nerves due to the incident and developed an extreme sensitivity to flames. All these events led the Fury to develop pyromania, a compulsion and obsession with fire. In a straightforward fight, Snake defeats the Fury. Before dying, he utters a strange sentence, "My work is done. I'm joining Sarah." After saying a few more words, the Fury is consumed by the flames and smashes his head against the tunnel ceiling, recalling memories of being sent into space. His equipment quickly explodes. Snake, by any means necessary, escapes the tunnel and enters Groznyj Grad.
Mission Control, do you read me? I'm coming home. I see the Earth.
As Eva instructed, he disguises himself as Colonel Rakoff. He incapacitates Rakoff, removes his clothes, and heads towards Sokolov. This colonel is a gay character whom Eva refers to as Volgin's lover. As previously mentioned, Volgin electrified his underwear to prevent anyone but himself from making contact, showcasing his depravity. Beyond this, he also sexually abuses many of his own soldiers. Disguised as Colonel Rakoff, Snake enters Sokolov's room. There, he sees Tatiana, Eva in disguise, receiving something from Sokolov. She questions him about the philosopher's legacy, but Sokolov claims he knows nothing. Eva threatens him with her lipstick. After Tatiana leaves, Snake talks to Sokolov. He reminds the scientist of the promise to take him to the West. Sokolov responds, "You're brave, but it's too late." He reveals that the second phase of the Shagohod project is complete. Snake asks, "What is this second phase?" and the unfortunate scientist explains, "We had to increase the launch range of the Shagohod. The Shagohod was designed to be able to fire any type of nuclear missile, but no matter what we tried, we couldn't mount ICBMs or intercontinental ballistic missiles on it. The Army is extremely focused on extending the Shagohod's missile range all the way to the United States. So what do we decide to do? We decided to increase the Shagohod's own speed. By installing a series of booster engines, we managed to raise its speed to over 300 miles per hour. This increases the missile range from 2,500 miles to 6,000 miles, which is enough to strike any point in the United States. The only thing it needs is a 3-mile-long runway to gain enough altitude to launch the missile. Volgin wants to take this prototype into mass production. He plans to send this weapon not only across different parts of the Soviet Union, but also to Asia and Eastern Europe, so that the Eastern Bloc gains complete dominance over the Western Bloc." Hearing this, Snake is astonished and says, "Before anything happens, we have to destroy the Shagohod facility and the prototype." Sokolov replies, "If we can detonate the liquid fuel used in the engine, our job will be done. You could use C3 explosives, but unfortunately, Tatiana stole the ones from the armory." Sokolov continues, "She managed to get in here by deceiving Volgin." Snake says, "I thought Tatiana was your lover." Sokolov shakes his head. "No, she's Volgin's lover." Then he shows Snake a photo of his wife and child, are under CIA protection in the United States, and adds, "She only arrived here a few weeks ago, just days before the virtuous mission." In other words, she is a KGB spy. Snake asks, "What did you give her?" Sokolov answers, "I gave her all the data we gathered from the Shagohod experiments." After finishing the discussion about Tatiana, Sokolov asks Snake to destroy the Shagohod by any means necessary and then leave him behind. He says, "Khrushchev has abandoned me. I can't return to my country anymore. Even if I go to the United States, I'll be forced to build another weapon of mass destruction for them. It doesn't matter where I go. I'll always be a weapons scientist. All I wanted was to build space rockets, but it didn't work out." The US-Soviet race for space became a pawn of politicians. The space race and the arms race are the same thing, a military missile or a space rocket. What's the difference? Scientists are always exploited. "Please take care of my family." Just as he finishes, by sheer bad luck, Volgin enters and is shocked to see Colonel Rakoff there. Suddenly, he grabs Snake's testicles. Apparently, feeling Rakoff's testicles was a normal routine for him.
Who are you?
By touching Snake's, Volgin immediately realizes something is off and understands that this isn't Rakoff. Furious, Volgin draws his gun and shoots Sokolov in the leg. He then aims at Snake, who, in a swift move, takes him down. At that exact moment, the boss arrives. After some CQC action, she removes Snake's mask and even defeats Volgin.
What is this fairy disguise? It's gonna rub off on you. And then you'll lose sight of who you really are. Stay out of this!
Infuriated that Snake dared to interfere with his lover, Colonel Volgin brutally beats him until Snake loses consciousness. When Snake regains consciousness, he hears Volgin brutally beating Sokolov and trying to force a confession out of him. Eventually, at Tatiana's insistence, Volgin stops. Turning his attention to Snake, the bastard first pours a bucket of water over him and then says, "My body can generate up to 10 million volts of electricity." Volgin proceeds to torture Snake, firing off questions about how much the CIA knows. or whether they are aware of the philosopher's legacy. He keeps torturing him relentlessly. In the middle of this, the boss arrives and comments. He'll never talk, he's built not to break in situations like this. Volgin continues his torture, and during the interrogation, he inadvertently reveals crucial information about the philosopher's legacy. You're after the location of the legacy, the hidden fortune created by the three great powers during World War II. $100 billion distributed and concealed around the world. You're looking for the details to know where that money is. Don't worry, the philosopher's legacy is safe with me. I've hidden it in the basement of Groznyj Grad, and you'll never get to it. If you pay close attention, at the very moment Volgin mentions the location of the legacy, the boss glances at Tatiana. While Snake is being beaten, a transmitter suddenly falls from him, and Volgin notices it. The colonel asks everyone in the room, "Who did this?" In response, Boss says, "I planted it to keep track of his movements." Hearing this, Volgin becomes suspicious of her and says, if the members of Cobra had known where he was going, none of them would have been slaughtered. The colonel then orders Boss to cooperate with him in blinding Snake. Boss goes to carry out the task, but at the last moment, Tatiana stops her. Ocelot becomes extremely suspicious of her and asks, "Why are you protecting him? Are you a spy?" Once again, like their first encounter with Eva, he touches Eva's chest and, from the smell of her clothes, realizes that Tatiana is the same woman who caught his wrist in the factory ruins. He tries to scare her with his revolver and force her to confess, but Snake attacks him to prevent this, accidentally losing his right eye in the process. Volgin, witnessing the incident, becomes enraged, and before leaving, he asks Tatiana to go to his room. Ocelot then reinserts the transmitter into Snake's body. After the two strangers leave, Boss shoots Snake in the leg with Ocelot's gun, puts it back in its holster, whispers something unintelligible into his ear, and finally tells Snake to escape before leaving. Once the strangers are gone, Tatiana fully explains the escape route from the fortress to Snake and then departs. By getting past numerous soldiers, Snake eventually reaches the castle's sewer system, as Eva had instructed. There, he notices something important. Apparently, Volgin has learned about Snake's escape and, as a result, has drastically increased the castle's security and the number of guards. This has blocked Snake's previous escape route, forcing him to head directly north. Eva warns him, "Snake, be careful, if they find you, they will definitely kill you." Snake continues on his path, and at one point, guard dogs chase after him. He runs with all his strength, barely escaping them until he reaches the end of the line, where Ocelot's soldiers capture him. At that exact moment, Ocelot himself arrives. That madman once again forces Snake to play Russian roulette, and after seeing his luck, Snake jumps into the river. After falling into the river, Snake seems to enter a kind of purgatory, a world belonging neither to the living nor to the dead. In this strange realm, he encounters a terrifying figure, a character we saw in the Virtuous Mission, whose presence Boss was unaware of. This man is called the Sorrow. It feels as though he has summoned Snake into this world to torment him. The Sorrow was born in the 1900s and, like the other members of Cobra, fought alongside Boss in World War II. He has the ability to summon the spirits of individuals to extract information from them, or even to merge their spirits with his own, learning their combat and warfare skills. It's also worth noting that the members of Cobra had originally gathered during World War II. This group consisted of some of the most elite and exceptional fighters in the Allied forces. After the war, the group was disbanded, only to reunite once again during the Virtuous Mission. After passing by the spirits of those he had killed during the mission, Snake ultimately experiences a kind of death in that world. Using a revival pill hidden in one of his teeth, he regains consciousness and returns to the real world. Once he gathers himself, Snake contacts the command center, reports his status to Zero, and listens to Sijan's account about the Sorrow. Apparently, the Sorrow was killed by Boss 2 years earlier. 2 years ago, the CIA had sent Boss on a secret mission to Selenoyarsk. After World War II, Boss met the Sorrow for the first time during this mission, not as a teammate, but as an enemy. During that mission, Boss killed the Sorrow. Hearing this, Snake is stunned, shocked to realize he had been speaking with a spirit. It seems the Sorrow, with his powers, can move between worlds even after death. After speaking with Team Fox, Snake contacts Eva and explains what happened. They arrange to meet under a waterfall and both head there together. Snake fights through a few of Ocelot's low-level soldiers and reaches the designated location. Soon after, Eva arrives in her legendary motorcycle, as usual shedding her clothes and chatting with Snake about their tastes in food. After a while, Eva asks Snake to take her to dinner after this mission. Following some playful flirting, Eva removes the transmitter Ocelot had implanted in Snake along with a bunch of confusing, meaningless images. As dawn breaks, they prepare to move. Eva gives Snake the stolen C3 explosives and with a bit of teasing, tries to win his heart. Judging by everything, Snake is clearly captivated by Eva. No matter how much she tries to play it cool, her actions betray her feelings. After this playful moment, Eva explains the plan to destroy Shagahad and the fortress. You need to plant the C3 explosives on all 4 fuel tanks at that facility. She also outlines her own role. I'll use half of the C3 explosives you're carrying to target the money along our escape route. Once the plan is fully explained, Eva shares the thrills she feels while riding her motorcycle, takes a keepsake photo with Snake, and then departs. Snake moves through the tunnel behind him and reaches Grozny Grad. Following the plan, Snake plants all the C3 explosives and heads to exit the castle's research section. However, at that moment, he spots Volgin and Ocelot standing over Eva's unconscious body. As he tries to approach them, Boss knocks him out. In a brief confrontation, Snake, as always, is defeated. It seems Volgin caught Eva when she was stealing the Philosopher's legacy. Ocelot, seeing the situation heating up, wants to score points too and says, "The smell of her motorcycle's gasoline finally did her in. I knew it from the start." After hearing this, Volgin strikes Eva slightly and in response to Snake's question, explains what the Philosopher's legacy is. He says, "The Philosopher's legacy was an incredible sum of money collected by the leaders of the Soviet Union, the United States, and China. These leaders were known as the Wise Men, or the Philosophers. The amount was so vast that it could have financed 5 more world wars. The legacy was used as a secret funding source for major projects during the war, projects like the atomic bomb, missile technology, and the Cobra unit. All of these were financed by the Philosopher's legacy. In the chaotic years following the war, my father, who was one of the Philosophers, devised a series of plans and schemes to ensure that the Soviet Union would maintain full control over the legacy, rather than the US or China. He distributed the funds across banks in Switzerland, Australia, and Hong Kong. A microfilm containing all this information was passed down from my father to me. Using the capital I inherited, along with support from Brezhnev and his allies, I established the Grozny Research Center in Grozny Grad itself. When that fool Grozny failed to meet our expectations, I had no choice but to turn to Khrushchev and invest in the Shagahad project. My position in the group made attacking the seclusive laboratory very difficult, but the Philosopher's espionage network still existed. Through it, I was able to contact Boss and ask her to join forces with me. Boss was perceptive enough to see everything from my perspective. Once the world was whole, but disagreements among the Philosophers divided it in 2. We will use the legacy to mend this rift and restore the world. For that, we need power and a trump card that nothing can stop, with enough strength to impose order globally. That trump card was meant to be the Shagahad and the Cobra unit. I lost the Cobras, but I still have the Shagahad and the Philosopher's legacy." After his long explanation, Volgin hands the legacy to Boss and asks her to take good care of it. Boss says, "They've stolen the C3 explosives. They've definitely made some mistakes. I'll go check on them so they don't get us killed. I'll also fix what this girl did." Boss approaches Eva and whispers in her ear, "Leave everything to me," before leaving with him. Meanwhile, in a spectacular fight, Snake takes down that dirty boxer. Seeing that things are going badly, Volgin orders Ocelot to shoot Snake, but Ocelot, honoring the promise she made to Boss, refuses and unexpectedly retreats. Snake fights Volgin once more, temporarily silencing him. As a laboratory is set to explode, Snake and the others flee like horses from the fortress. As soon as Snake exits the castle lab, Eva comes to his aid. After moving a safe distance away, she tells him, "I'll explain everything later. For now, we need to get to the lake. Boss is waiting for you there." Her voice becomes emotional as she continues, "I'm asking you not to fight, Boss. I came to understand what your relationship is, what it is that I don't understand, something beyond just a man and a woman. Honestly, I feel jealous. She asked me to tell you something. I have never seen eyes so pure and honest before."
But I've come to realize that there's a special relationship between you two. Something I can't understand, something that goes beyond a man and a woman. I envy you. Really, I do. But I guess I just can't understand it. She asked me to tell you something. I've never seen someone with such clear eyes. There.
After finishing their conversation, Eva and Snake hop onto the motorcycle. Suddenly, a terrifying roar echoes nearby. As expected, the despicable Volgin is still alive. Riding the Shagohod with the intent to destroy Snake, he pursues them, forcing them to deal with this menace once again. Eva and Snake fight through countless soldiers, dodging and weaving like cats and mice to escape both Volgin and the Shagohod. Along the way, that nuisance Ocelot appears once more. He tries to do something with his useless weapon, but fortunately, as always, he accomplishes nothing. They continue their escape, taking out any soldiers in their path. Their goal is to lure the Shagohod to the bombed bridge that Eva painstakingly prepared and finish the job there.
Surprise for you. You won't be getting away this time.
Son of a bitch!
Snake, we've only got one chance. We'll lure him over towards the other side. When the Shagohod is on the bridge, shoot the explosives. The bomb is planted on the strut of the bridge. Let's go!
Soon, Vulcan shows up, and Snake uses a sniper rifle to shoot the explosives under the bridge, destroying both the massive Shagohod and its weapon. Looks like this bastard isn't giving up, but this time he's going down. Snake, with Eva's help and an RPG, attacks Vulcan, pulling him out of his cage. Using cables capable of transmitting powerful electricity, he remotely takes control of the Shagohod. After resisting fiercely, Vulcan finally accepts defeat. Ignoring the onset of rain, he uses his remaining power, which triggers a massive lightning strike that strikes him and sets him ablaze. At the same time, the explosives strapped around his body begin detonating one by one, and Vulcan meets his end in the most fitting and spectacular way possible.
Come on, you blockhead! Huh?
Who's afraid of a little thunder?
Fried by a bolt of lightning. A fitting end. It's finally over.
After teamwork and escaping numerous low-level soldiers, they reach the lake and separate. Eva goes to prepare the advanced escape device, the WIG, while Snake moves toward Boss to finish the mission. As Snake puts some distance between himself and the others, he suddenly senses the shockwave of another nuclear explosion and is stunned. Apparently, Boss has used David Crockett's second nuclear warhead to destroy Groznygrad and the Grozny Research Center.
The world must be made whole again. The philosophers must be reunited. I will devote my skills to that purpose. And with the Colonel's money, I will achieve that end. Just as I once created the Cobras. They are my family. I may no longer be able to bear children, but I still have a family.
This section is Boss's voice, playing through an audio recording. It was November 1951 when I participated in a nuclear test in the Nevada desert. The name Nevada comes from Spanish, meaning covered in snow, and snow is exactly what I saw in the Nevada desert. I was terrified, Snake. You were also at a nuclear test at Bikini Atoll. That was one of the reasons I came to you. You and I are alike. Both of us are gradually being destroyed by the karma of others. If we don't have the chance to die peacefully in old age, we have no future, but we can still hope. In 1960, I saw an image of an ideal future from space, 3 years before the Soviet Union succeeded in sending Sputnik, the first human-made satellite, into orbit. This was a huge shock for America. That's why the US devoted everything it had to the manned spaceflight project, Mercury. Even when the Soviets were preparing to send their first human to space, America continued experiments sending chimpanzees. The government wanted data on human subjects, so they secretly decided to send a human into space. I was the one they chose at a time when the technology to protect against cosmic radiation didn't exist. Anyone sent would inevitably be exposed to heavy radiation, which is why they selected me. Besides, I'd already been exposed to radiation once before. From space, I could see the planet as it truly is. That's when I realized that space exploration was nothing more than another game in the power struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Politics, economics, the arms race, these are all arenas for meaningless competition. I'm sure you can see it too. The Earth itself has no borders, no East, no West, no Cold War. And the absurd part is that America and the Soviet Union spend billions of dollars on space programs and missile competitions just to reach the same outcome, to become alike. In the 21st century, everyone can see that we are all merely inhabitants of a small celestial body called Earth, a world without communists or capitalists. That was the world I wanted to see. In 1961, I was sent to Cuba, to the Bay of Pigs. This mission was part of a CIA-backed invasion designed to cover the operation of returning Cuban exiles to their homeland, but the US government betrayed them. Weak President Matt prevented air support, and the exiles were annihilated by the Cuban army with no defense. All I could do was stay silent and watch. I was raised by the very countries for which I had made countless sacrifices, by the very governments I had devoted my life to defending. I was cast down from the superficial world into the underground. Then 2 years ago, I faced Sorrow, my former comrade, in battle. He was my friend, yet one of us had to die. I had no choice. Sorrow gave his life for me. There was no enmity between us. One had to die, and one had to survive. That was our mission. The ones who assigned it to me were the philosophers. In the early 20th century, the true holders of power in America, the Republic of China, and the newly established Soviet Union gathered in a secret meeting that would later be known as the Committee of Wise Men. The clandestine pact they formed, there was the beginning of the philosophers. But the last of the original members died in the 1930s. After that, control over the organization was lost, and the Committee of Wise Men became a mere shadow of its former self. Today's philosophers have no sense of good or evil. Their influence spreads across nations and organizations involved in every aspect of every war. They have become the war itself. This is how they operate. Sacrifices in war create shifts in time, which lead to further conflicts, triggering new wars, like a nuclear chain reaction. Each conflict sparks countless others, forming an endless spiral of war that continues forever. The philosophers intend to keep spinning their cycle forever by consuming you and me. It was my father who told me all this. He was one of those philosophers. I'm the last surviving child of the original members. After my father revealed the truth to me, he was killed by the same shapeless organization. But my father is not the only thing the philosophers took from me. In June 1944, I and the Cobra unit participated in the Normandy landing. We were given this ultra-secret mission to destroy the enemy's V-2 missile systems. I was pregnant at the time, and Sorrow was the father. I gave birth to my child on the battlefield, a beautiful boy, but the philosophers took my child from me as well.
You're a soldier. Finish your mission. Prove your loyalty. Face me.
Out of necessity, Snake fights Boss and kills her. After this, Snake heads to the wig and, together with Eva, prepares to depart. Suddenly, Ocelot appears and by any means manages to get inside the wig. After a brief hand-to-hand struggle, dodging each other's moves, they end up pointing their guns at each other, but fortunately, neither succeeds in firing. Ocelot, a fan of Western, says, "Let's duel." The intruder asks Snake to reveal his real name.
Snake.
No, not that name. You're not a snake, and I'm not an ocelot. We're men with names. My name is Adamska. What's yours?
John.
Very well, John. Plain name. Looks like my luck has finally changed. Till we meet again, John. Looks like your luck has beat mine again. But why didn't you pull the trigger? Ah, well. Till we meet again, John.
Due to the damage Ocelot caused to one of Wig's engines with his flying device, Eva struggles to maintain control. Working together, Snake and Eva lift off from the lake's surface. Following Zero's instructions, Snake and Eva travel to their safe house in Alaska to rest. After enduring so much hardship, they finally spend a night together and make love. Snake asks Eva about her future, saying, "Have you ever thought about going back to America?" She responds, "I left America behind," and their conversation grows more intimate.
Go back. I've left America behind me.
But you saved this country.
I didn't do it alone.
And I still owe you a dinner.
Is that part of your mission too? Or is it an order? Or is it an invitation? Or a proposal? I don't take orders from anyone now.
The next day, Snake wakes up and seeing himself alone, realizes the chaos he has caused. In the background, even narrates, researchers tell us that the first spy in history, according to the book of Genesis, was the serpent or snake. In that story, it was Eve in the Garden of Eden who was tempted by the serpent, but this time, it was I who tempted the serpent, or snake, and escaped with the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Before leaving, Eva leaves Snake a photo and an audio tape to reveal the truth. On the tape, she says, "Good morning, Snake. I hope you slept well. First of all, I need to apologize. I was never sent by Khrushchev. I am not a KGB spy, and I never worked for the NSA. I am an agent of the People's Republic of China, working for the General Staff of the Second Department of the People's Liberation Army. Everything else was a lie. I deceived you, and I'm sorry. The philosophers still exist in China. My mission was to find out where Volgin hid the philosopher's legacy and then steal it. So I infiltrated his base posing as a KGB agent. Both NSA spies who defected in 1960 were actually men. The real Adam never showed up at the meeting. This worked to my advantage and allowed me to eliminate him easily. I entered secretly and pretended to be Eva. You, Sokolov, and Volgin, all of you believed me. The philosopher's legacy was originally meant to be held jointly by the US, the Soviet Union, and China. We couldn't let the Russians and Americans take it all for themselves. The Chinese government wanted the legacy as well. I received the footage of the legacy and the Shagahad's nuclear missile launch. For the past 5 years, the Soviets stopped sharing their nuclear weapons technology with us. Since then, China's hydrogen bomb and space missile projects have been delayed, but with this information, our country can develop its own nuclear weapons. We will build this counterforce to compete with the US and Soviet powers. Thanks to you, everything went according to plan. I am one of the philosophers. I am an agent of the philosophers, a graduate from one of their specialized schools. I was raised in a joint center between the US, the Soviet Union, and China to become a sleeping agent, someone who would seduce the opposition and extract information. This was before the war. Back then, they gathered children from all over the world. Yet, I'm not identifiable as a Native American. When you and Volgin failed to notice the difference, I was not surprised. The boss knew from the very beginning. She knew because before the war, she had served as an instructor at the same school where I was trained. Boss was the only person I could never fool. She was the only one who knew I was lying. She told me everything. At the time, I couldn't fully understand it, but now I think I can. Snake, she wanted you to know the truth. She chose me to tell you. That's why she saved my life. I lied to you many times, but this time it's different. My orders from the government were to retrieve the legacy and kill anyone who knew the truth about my mission. In other words, I was supposed to kill you, but I can't, not because we love each other, not because you saved my life, but because I promised, boss. I just wanted you to know how to live your life. After listening to the entire tape, Snake travels to Virginia in the US to meet with President Lyndon Johnson.
You are above even the boss. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss.
In the final cutscene of the game, we hear the voice of Ocelot, our trusty revolver wielder, speaking with the KGB High Command. He contacts the KGB chief to report the destruction of Groznygrad and the Grozny Research Center. Ocelot continues, saying Khrushchev's work is done, and now it's the KGB's turn. In a moment of opportunism, he reminds the KGB chief that the Soviet Union could use the information obtained from the Virtuous Mission and Snake Eater operations to blackmail the US in upcoming negotiations, as America expects the Soviets not to disclose these events to the world. Ocelot assures the chief that he will keep the KGB informed of all future developments. He then contacts the Americans. He calls the DCI, the Director of Central Intelligence in the US, to report to that side as well. This DCI also holds other critical roles, serving as the chief intelligence advisor to the president and acting as a liaison between the US and other countries' intelligence agencies. Ocelot informs him that the copy of the philosopher's legacy Eva gave to China was fake, and the real copy was delivered to the US. Since half of it was likely stolen by the Soviets, there's a chance to try to retrieve it from the KGB. He reports that the Shagahad was destroyed and that boss used David Crockett to blow up Groznygrad. Ocelot adds, I managed to recover the Metal Gear Project documents from him before Grozny's destruction. They might come in handy later. I don't know if you've guessed it yet, but the real Adam was our charming Ocelot. The Adam and Eva who defected from the NSA were actually them. He was a triple agent, working for Volgin and his group, for the CIA, and for the philosophers. Ocelot's mission for the philosophers was to steal the legacy and deliver it to the US, returning power to America. In his final words, he mentions continuing his operations with the CIA, and then says goodbye. It truly sends shivers down your spine. Who would have thought events would unfold this way? Ocelot was the real Adam. Eva was a Chinese spy. Boss's goal was entirely for her country, and she sacrificed herself for it. Or was the CIA orchestrating all of this? Truly, everything was astonishing. This game is one of the most complete in history. I can say that with absolute certainty. And that's the end of the story of this game. I hope I've done it justice and that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if the video was too short, too long, or if there's anything I should change for the next version. Don't forget to like and subscribe.